What if the most iconic ancient monument in the world wasn't just a pile of rocks, but a sophisticated time-telling machine built by brilliant, forgotten minds? For centuries, Stonehenge has baffled historians, but new discoveries are finally unlocking its greatest secret, its profound connection to the stars.
Welcome to our channel, the place where knowledge meets curiosity. Here, we dive deep into the wonders of history, science, culture, and mysteries that shape our world. Every video is designed to open your mind and spark your imagination. So sit back, relax, and let's begin this incredible journey together. Now we explore, explain, Stonehenge, unraveling its astronomical secrets.
Stonehenge rises from the gentle green plains of Salisbury as if it were a silent witness to the unfolding story of human civilization, a monument so ancient, so enigmatic, that even after millennia of study, its deepest secrets remain tantalizingly out of reach. To understand Stonehenge is to enter a world where earth, sky, and human imagination converged in a single vision. It is a place where archaeology meets mythology, where stones align with the heavens, and where the ambitions of early societies shaped landscapes and belief systems in ways that still resonate today. As the first light of dawn spills over the horizontal lintels and casts long shadows across the plains, one cannot help but feel the pull of ancient minds who once stood at this very place, watching the sky, measuring time, and weaving meaning into the cosmos. Their whispers echo through the stones, inviting us to listen, to observe, and to question. Stonehenge's story begins long before the first stone was raised. Thousands of years earlier, when Ice Age glaciers retreated and the land slowly warmed, the ancestors of Britain's early communities moved across the landscape, discovering territories, forming social bonds, and observing the celestial rhythms that govern their lives. The earliest features of Stonehenge were not stones at all, but rather ditches, wooden posts, and earthworks carved into the ground by communities who likely possessed no written language, but held a profound understanding of their environment. These people were not simply surviving, they were thinking, imagining, designing, and planning. They recognized the sky as a clock, the seasons as chapters, and the earth as a canvas on which they could imprint their cultural identity. Long before Stonehenge became an iconic ring of stones, it was a place of gathering, ritual, and cosmic orientation. To understand why Stonehenge came to be, one must imagine life during the Neolithic period. Communities were transitioning from nomadic hunters to settled farmers, creating permanent homes, domesticating animals, and cultivating crops. This shift brought social transformation. People began to bury their dead with care, marking graves with mounds, placing tokens of life beside the deceased, and thinking more deeply about their place in the universe. The cycles of the sun and moon were no longer curiosities, they were essential for agriculture, survival, and ritual. The solstices determined planting and harvesting, the phases of the moon guided ceremonies and gatherings. In this world, the sky was not distant, it was a living partner in human existence. Stonehenge emerged as a response to this profound relationship. Archaeological evidence reveals that before the massive sarsen stones were erected, an earlier form of the monument consisted of timber structures and circles of smaller blue stones transported from the distant Preseli Hills of Wales. This early phase alone demonstrates astonishing human effort and intention. Transporting stones weighing several tons over 150 miles without wheels, metal tools, or modern engineering seems unimaginable. Yet the builders of Stonehenge accomplished it, implying a highly organized society capable of cooperation, leadership, and long-term planning. These efforts were not random, they were purposeful acts filled with symbolic importance. The arrival of the bluestones at Salisbury Plain marked the beginning of a sacred landscape, a place destined to evolve and expand over generations. The installation of these stones coincided with changing burial customs. Nearby sites reveal cremated remains carefully placed within pits, suggesting Stonehenge may have originally served as a cemetery for elite individuals or revered ancestors. Each burial reflects the early community's belief in continuity between life and death, a belief rooted not only in the earth, but in the heavens above. Many ancient cultures saw stars as the spirits of ancestors, eternally watching over the living.
Stonehenge's circular shape mirrored the sky's dome, symbolizing a unity between cosmic order and human existence. The builders may have seen themselves as part of a larger celestial system, with Stonehenge positioned at its center, a place where the living could commune with the eternal. As centuries passed, Stonehenge entered a transformational phase that would define its astronomical legacy. Around 2500 BCE, during a time of increased population, trade, and innovation across Neolithic Britain, the iconic sarsen stones were raised. These massive stones, some weighing up to 25 tons, were erected in a horseshoe and circle formation, topped with precisely fitted lintels forming an unmatched architectural marvel of the prehistoric world. The engineering techniques used, mortise and tenon joints, smooth shaping, leveling of lintels, suggest a technological sophistication rarely attributed to Neolithic societies. The scale of effort and mastery implies not only abundant manpower, but also a unifying vision that transcended generations. But among all its wonders, what sets Stonehenge apart is its connection to the sky. The alignment of the monument with the summer solstice sunrise and the winter solstice sunset has long fascinated scholars. During the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises precisely over the heelstone and casts a beam of light through the sarsen archway. This moment, recreated year after year across millennia, is not an accident of design. It is evidence of intentional astronomical alignment, suggesting that Stonehenge may have functioned as a solar calendar or ceremonial space where solstice events symbolized renewal, rebirth, and the cyclical nature of the cosmos. For the winter solstice, the shortest day, the sun sets along the monument's central axis, plunging the world into darkness and then promising light's return. The builders understood the significance of these events and encoded them into stone, ensuring future generations would never lose sight of the rhythm of the sun. When people today gather at Stonehenge to watch the solstice sunrise, they replicate a tradition thousands of years old. But for the Neolithic builders, this was not a simple celebration. It was a communal ritual that united hundreds or even thousands of people. Archaeological discoveries at nearby Durrington Walls suggest that feasting, ceremonies, and gatherings took place during solstice periods. The abundance of animal bones from midwinter slaughter, along with evidence of large communal structures, indicates that Stonehenge was part of a wider ceremonial complex, rather than an isolated monument. People came from across the British Isles, bringing livestock, families, offerings, and stories. For them, the solstice was not only a moment of astronomical significance, but a social and cultural event that reaffirmed unity, fertility, and spiritual continuity.
To understand Stonehenge as an astronomical observatory is not to diminish its spiritual importance. In ancient societies, astronomy and spirituality were intertwined. Observing the heavens was not merely scientific, it was sacred, a means to understand the will of the gods, ancestors, or the universe itself. The alignment of Stonehenge's architecture with celestial bodies suggests that the builders possessed knowledge of seasonal cycles and perhaps even lunar patterns. Some researchers propose that Stonehenge's arrangement of stones could track lunar standstills, rare events when the moon rises or sets at its most extreme positions in the sky. If true, this would make Stonehenge a dual-purpose observatory, used for both solar and lunar phenomena. An extraordinary achievement for a prehistoric society. Its creators may have used these observations to mark important dates, predict seasonal changes, or schedule rituals and agricultural cycles. Their understanding of celestial mechanics did not come from books or instruments, but from generations of careful observation. They watched how shadows moved, how stars shifted, how the sun traveled across the horizon. They connected these cosmic patterns to the lives they led on Earth. Stonehenge, therefore, stands not only as a testament to human ingenuity, but also as a monument to human curiosity, our universal desire to understand who we are, where we come from, and how we fit within the vastness of the universe. Even today, standing before Stonehenge evokes a sense of mystery and wonder. The wind whispers across the plains, carrying echoes of ancient chants.
The stones seemed to pulse with a quiet rhythm, as though alive with the memories of the countless people who built, visited, worshipped, mourned, and celebrated here. The monument's purpose did not remain static. As centuries passed, various communities reinterpreted its meaning. To some, it was a place of burial. To others, a celestial marker. To later visitors, perhaps a sacred temple or a memorial to ancestors. Stonehenge's resilience lies in its ability to adapt, to absorb new meanings while preserving its ancient core. It stands on Salisbury Plain not as a relic frozen in time, but as a living dialogue between past and present, between the earth and the heavens. By the end of the Neolithic period, Stonehenge had become one of the most significant ceremonial landscapes in Europe. The avenues leading away from the stones connected to rivers and settlements, suggesting planned processional routes. The builders intentionally aligned pathways with watercourses, symbolizing the journey between life and death, or between earthly existence and celestial ascent. Water, like the sky, carried a deep symbolic meaning. The combination of stone, earth, sky, and water formed a sacred geography that reflected the worldview of its creators.
To understand Stonehenge's astronomical essence, one must return to a time when the sky was humanity's first laboratory and its most powerful storyteller. The people who built Stonehenge did not merely look upward, they interpreted the heavens with a precision born from generations of nightly observation. Their world lacked written texts, metal instruments, telescopes, or mechanical devices, yet they possessed something equally powerful: an unbroken bond with nature. Every sunrise, every lunar cycle, every shifting star was a signal, a message from the universe. Stonehenge became the architectural expression of these observations, a colossal timepiece forged from earth and sky, designed not only to mark celestial events, but to anchor human lives within the rhythms of the cosmos. To decode Stonehenge is to decode how its builders perceived the universe, and how they transformed abstract celestial patterns into monumental architecture. The central axis of Stonehenge, aligned with the summer solstice sunrise and winter solstice sunset, is its most famous astronomical feature. Yet this alignment is not a simple coincidence, nor is it a single-purpose orientation. It represents a deeper, more harmonious relationship between monument and cosmos. During the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises over the heelstone, sending light directly through the heart of the structure. The rays of dawn illuminate the inner circle, awakening the stones in a golden glow. This moment, witnessed today by thousands who gather in celebration, would have carried profound symbolic weight for the Neolithic builders. The solstice was a pivot point, a cosmic threshold marking renewal, abundance, and the triumph of light. For agrarian societies, the solstice signaled the peak of summer growth, the promise of future harvests, and the cycle of life continuing without interruption. Stonehenge became the stage upon which this cosmic drama unfolded, allowing entire communities to share a collective connection with the universe. Equally powerful is the monument's connection to the winter solstice, a moment when the sun sets along the same axis, casting long shadows across the stones as it sinks below the horizon. Unlike the joyous summer solstice, the winter solstice symbolized endurance, reflection, and the anticipation of returning light. The shortest day brought darkness, cold, and vulnerability, but it also marked the turning point when the sun began its slow journey back toward lengthening days. Ancient people would have seen this as a moment of spiritual rebirth. Ceremonial gatherings at Stonehenge during this time likely invoked themes of resilience, gratitude, and hope. Archaeological evidence of feasting at Durrington Walls, with abundant midwinter animal remains, suggest large-scale gatherings synchronized with this celestial milestone. These events were not random. They were orchestrated celebrations of cosmic order, affirming that even in darkness, life persisted. The solstice alignments, however, represent only one aspect of Stonehenge's astronomical sophistication. Researchers have long proposed that the layout of the stones may encode lunar cycles as well. The moon, with its rhythmic phases and complex motions, played an equally significant role in ancient timekeeping.
Some scholars argue that Stonehenge's arrangement of 56 Aubrey holes, circular pits ringing the outer edge of the monument, could have been used to track lunar standstills. A lunar standstill occurs every 18.6 years when the moon reaches its extreme rising and setting positions on the horizon. This is a subtle and complex phenomenon that requires decades of careful observation to understand. Yet the builders of Stonehenge may have mastered it. If the Aubrey holes indeed serve to track lunar movements, Stonehenge becomes not only a solar calendar, but a lunisolar observatory. The ability to observe and predict these events would have given its builders a profound understanding of celestial cycles, reinforcing their control over social and ritual life.
The possibility that Stonehenge functioned as a sophisticated observatory suggests an extraordinary level of cooperation among Neolithic communities. Knowledge about celestial patterns cannot emerge overnight. It must be accumulated across many generations of observation, teaching, and refinement. Elders passed knowledge to youth, who then refined and extended it. These societies lacked written language, meaning their understanding of the sky relied entirely on oral tradition and lived experience. The construction of Stonehenge may have signified the crystallization of this generational wisdom, a permanent repository for astronomical knowledge encoded in stone. While stories fade and voices disappear, stone endures. Thus, Stonehenge became a monumental textbook, a physical map of the sky, ensuring that celestial wisdom would not be lost even as generations passed. The orientation of the stones also hints at a broader cosmological worldview. Many ancient societies perceived the universe as a harmonious system in which earthly life mirrored celestial order. The builders of Stonehenge likely shared this belief. The circular layout of the monument echoed the circular journey of the sun, the moon, and the stars. This circular shape symbolized continuity, unity, and eternity, a shape without beginning or end. The lintels, carefully shaped and evenly placed, created an unbroken ring above, reinforcing the symbolism of connection between the earthly and celestial realms. The precision of these stones, leveled and locked into place using mortise and tenon joints, reflects an intentional desire to create a structure capable of outlasting time. Each stone was shaped with purpose, each alignment chosen with meaning. In this way, Stonehenge stands as an ancient expression of humans situating themselves within the cosmos. Yet Stonehenge's astronomical role cannot be separated from its social and ceremonial context. Astronomy in ancient times was not a detached science, but a sacred act. Observing the heavens meant understanding divine patterns, interpreting the will of deities, and ensuring harmony between human behavior and cosmic order. The solstices, equinoxes, lunar phases, and stellar movements were woven into rituals, agriculture, governance, and myth. Stonehenge's builders were not simply astronomers, they were astronomer priests, individuals who possessed both scientific understanding and spiritual authority. Their interpretations guided the rhythms of community life, dictating when people gathered, when ceremonies were held, when crops were planted, and when ancestors were honored. Stonehenge thus functioned as both a scientific instrument and a temple, blending knowledge and belief into a unified whole. This blending of roles can be seen in the way Stonehenge interacts with the surrounding landscape. Stonehenge is not isolated. It is part of a larger ceremonial complex stretching across Salisbury Plain, including the Avenue, the River Avon, Durrington Walls, Woodhenge, and numerous burial mounds. Each of these sites holds symbolic meaning, and together they create a ritual landscape aligned with celestial cycles. The Avenue, for instance, connects Stonehenge to the River Avon and appears to be deliberately aligned with the summer solstice sunrise. This suggests a ceremonial procession route used by worshippers moving from the river to the stone circle during important rituals. Water in ancient symbolism often represented the boundary between life and death, or between the earthly world and the spirit realm.
By aligning this passageway with the rising sun, the builders imbued the journey with spiritual meaning, symbolizing rebirth and cosmic renewal.
Durrington Walls, located a short distance from Stonehenge, provides additional insight into how human life and celestial events intertwined. Excavations revealed that this settlement was occupied seasonally, most likely during winter solstice periods. The alignment of structures at Durrington Walls mirrors Stonehenge's winter solstice orientation, reinforcing the idea that these sites functioned as interconnected ceremonial centers. People likely converged here from distant regions, bringing offerings, participating in rituals, and celebrating the cosmic cycles that governed their existence. The feasts held at Durrington Walls, evident from large quantities of animal bones and pottery, suggest communal gatherings infused with ritual significance. By synchronizing these activities with celestial events, the builders created a sense of cosmic cohesion that united diverse communities. Stonehenge's role as an astronomical monument also extended into its relationship with death and ancestry. Many cultures across the ancient world believed that the sky served as the realm of ancestors. Stars were thought to be the souls of the departed, watching over the living. The alignment of Stonehenge with celestial events may therefore reflect a belief in cosmic ancestry. Burial practices around the site reinforce this idea. Cremated remains found within the Aubrey holes suggest that Stonehenge once functioned as a cemetery for elite members of society. These individuals may have been seen as intermediaries between the human and celestial realms. Their placement within the monument ensured that they remained eternally connected to the cosmic cycles encoded in the stones. Thus, Stonehenge was not simply a place of the living, but also a gateway for the dead, a monument where life, death, and the cosmos merged. The construction process of Stonehenge itself reflects astronomical intentionality. The builders selected sarsen stones, which were shaped and positioned with remarkable precision. These stones form the outer circle and inner horseshoe, creating sightlines that align with key celestial events. Transporting sarsen stones required a deep understanding of engineering principles, while shaping them demanded specialized knowledge of stonecraft. The lintels were curved to fit a circular layout, a feat requiring mathematical foresight. The careful leveling of the lintels across varying stone heights shows that the builders intentionally preserved the geometry of the circle. Such precision indicates that the visual and functional integrity of the monument was vital. A misaligned stone could disrupt the astronomical purpose of the entire structure, yet the builders achieved perfect alignment without modern tools, relying instead on observational skill, ingenuity, and communal effort. Some researchers propose that Stonehenge's builders used wooden sighting posts, ropes, and geometric patterns to measure angles and track celestial positions. Archaeological experiments suggest they could have used simple tools like shadow sticks to mark sunrise and sunset points across the year. By tracking these shadows over decades, they could determine solstice positions with extraordinary accuracy. Once these points were established, they became the foundational orientation for Stonehenge's layout. Stonehenge, therefore, is not merely aligned with the sun. It is the final culmination of centuries of skywatching and knowledge refinement.
Beyond solar and lunar alignments, some theories suggest that Stonehenge may encode stellar observations as well. Although this remains debated, certain alignments appear to correspond with prominent stars or constellations visible during the Neolithic period. These stellar connections could reflect seasonal markers or ancestral symbolism. If true, Stonehenge may have functioned as a multi-layered observatory, tracking solar, lunar, and stellar cycles. While this remains a topic of ongoing research, the complexity of the monument leaves room for such interpretations. The builders possessed an intimate understanding of the sky, and it is plausible that they explored multiple celestial dimensions in their design. The astronomical purpose of Stonehenge extended beyond practical or ritual functions. It shaped the worldview of the society that built it. By anchoring celestial events in stone, the builders created a sense of cosmic order that governed daily life. Time itself became structured through the monument. The year was divided not by arbitrary numbers, but by the movements of the sun and moon. Through Stonehenge, people could visualize their place within the universe. It became a frame through which the sky revealed its rhythms, a reminder that human life was part of a larger cosmic tapestry. In this sense, Stonehenge is a testament to humanity's early attempts to understand time, existence, and the divine. As knowledge of Stonehenge's astronomical significance grows, so too does our appreciation for the brilliance of its builders. They recognized patterns invisible to the untrained eye. They translated celestial mechanics into architectural form with extraordinary precision. They created a monument that not only served their immediate needs, but also transcended their era, continuing to inspire awe thousands of years later. Stonehenge remains a testament to the enduring human desire to reach beyond the earthly realm and forge a connection with the cosmos.
The engineering story behind Stonehenge is as astonishing as its astronomical alignment. To modern eyes, the monument appears timeless, an arrangement of massive stones that seems to belong outside the boundaries of human construction. Yet the truth is even more remarkable. Every stone was shaped, transported, and raised entirely through human effort, using only stone tools, wooden implements, ropes made from plants and hides, and raw determination. Understanding how Stonehenge was built reveals a civilization far more advanced than often imagined, one whose ingenuity and organizational capacity allowed it to achieve what many would consider impossible. The act of constructing Stonehenge was not merely functional. It was an expression of human ambition, spirituality, and the desire to create something that could endure millennia, something that could withstand not only the elements, but the erosion of memory and time. The journey of Stonehenge begins with sourcing its stones, a process that itself required immense planning and coordination. The monument contains two major types of stones: the sarsen stones, which form its outer ring and inner horseshoe, and the smaller blue stones, which were transported from the Preseli Hills in Wales. The sarsen stones, weighing up to 25 tons each, originated from the Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles north of Salisbury Plain. Although significantly closer than the blue stones, moving these colossal stones still required extraordinary manpower. The builders likely used sledges made from timber, pulled by teams of hundreds, sliding the stones over lubricated trackways of animal fat or wet clay. In some reconstructions, archaeologists have shown that it is possible to move such stones using only ropes and human effort, though the process is slow and demanding. These reconstructions provide only a glimpse of what the original builders accomplished repeatedly, with remarkable precision and without the benefit of modern tools. The blue stones, by contrast, present an even greater puzzle. These stones weigh between 2 and 4 tons and were moved from Wales, a distance of more than 150 miles. There are two major theories about how they were transported. One suggests that glaciers deposited the stones closer to Salisbury Plain during the last ice age, and the Neolithic builders collected them locally. The other, more widely accepted theory argues that the builders intentionally extracted the stones in Wales and transported them across land and water to Stonehenge. If this latter theory is correct, the feat is one of the greatest engineering achievements of prehistoric Europe. Moving such stones over rough terrain and across rivers would have required advanced knowledge of woodworking, rope making, and watercraft construction. Experiments suggest that Neolithic people could have used wooden sledges to drag the stones to the coast, place them on rafts, and float them along rivers before hauling them again across land. This monumental journey would not be undertaken lightly, implying that the blue stones carried deep symbolic or spiritual significance. Their presence at Stonehenge suggests a unifying cultural identity that connected distant communities. Once the stones arrived at Salisbury Plain, the process of shaping them began.
The builders used stone hammers and antler picks to shape the sarsens and bluestones. The sarsen stones, being extremely hard, required immense labor to smooth and carve. Each stone was carefully crafted to fit into the larger architectural vision. The lintels were shaped with subtle curves so they could form a perfect ring atop the sarsen circle. Mortise and tenon joints were carved into the tops of the standing stones, while corresponding holes were carved into the lintels. These joints allowed the lintels to securely lock into place, preventing them from sliding off. Achieving this level of precision demanded not only technical skill, but also mathematical understanding. The builders had to calculate angles, curves, and weight distribution. They had to ensure that each stone fit with its neighbors in both height and width. The consistent height of the sarsen circle, despite variations in ground elevation, indicates that the builders leveled the ground and measured stone heights with remarkable accuracy. Raising the stones required even greater ingenuity. To lift the massive sarsen stones into position, the builders likely dug deep holes and used wooden frames, ropes, and counterweights to tilt the stones upright. Some reconstructions suggest that the stones were levered up using wooden beams, while teams pulled ropes to position them. Once a stone was upright in its pit, the builders filled the hole with earth and stones to secure it. Raising the lintels required scaffolding, wooden structures built around the standing stones to support the heavy lintels as they were lifted. Ropes and pulleys, though simple, could have provided the mechanical advantage needed to elevate the lintels several meters above the ground. The entire process was labor-intensive and required careful planning. A single mistake, a snapped rope, an unstable scaffold, a misaligned joint could result in injury or ruin the structure. Yet the Neolithic builders completed this process repeatedly, demonstrating not only physical strength, but also organizational excellence. The organization behind Stonehenge's construction speaks to a society with structured leadership, skilled laborers, and a shared cultural vision. The scale of the project required hundreds, perhaps thousands of people working together over decades. This implies social cohesion and the presence of leaders capable of motivating and directing large groups. These leaders may have been spiritual figures, astronomer priests, who commanded respect and authority. Their knowledge of the heavens would have given them symbolic power, allowing them to guide the community in constructing a monument aligned with celestial rhythms. The laborers themselves would have had various specialties: quarry workers, woodworkers, rope makers, engineers, and ceremonial leaders. This division of labor indicates a society capable of planning long-term, multi-generational projects. The construction process also reveals the symbolic importance of Stonehenge to its builders. The effort required to move, shape, and erect the stones suggests that the monument held spiritual significance far beyond practical necessity. Stonehenge was not built to solve an immediate problem. It was built as an enduring symbol of cosmic order, spirituality, and communal identity. The alignment with celestial events reinforced the idea that the community was in harmony with the universe. The monument connected the physical world with the spiritual, the earthly with the celestial, the present with the eternal. Its construction was both technological and religious act, an offering to the cosmos, carved from the earth and aligned with the sky.
Understanding the engineering of Stonehenge also requires examining the site's evolving phases. The earliest phase, long before the stone circle, consisted of a circular ditch and bank known as a henge. This earthwork was likely created using antler picks and wooden tools, requiring significant manual labor. The ditch's diameter and depth reflect careful planning. The symmetry and scale of the henge demonstrate an early commitment to creating a sacred space on Salisbury Plain. The placement of timber posts and smaller stones in later phases shows that Stonehenge was not built all at once, but evolved over many centuries. Each generation added its interpretation and modifications, reflecting shifting cultural needs, astronomical observations, and spiritual beliefs. The final Sarsen phase cemented Stonehenge as the monumental structure we recognize today. The builders also understood the geological properties of the stones they worked with. Sarsen is a type of dense, silicified sandstone that is extremely durable. It can withstand intense weathering, which explains why the Sarsen circle remains largely intact after 4,500 years. Bluestone, though softer, has acoustic properties that may have contributed to its selection. Some researchers suggest that the bluestones produce resonant tones when struck, implying a possible musical or ritual function. Whether or not this was intentional, it highlights the builders' sensitivity to material properties. They chose stones not simply for size, but for meaning, durability, and symbolic resonance. To sustain a project of this magnitude, the community needed resources: food, shelter, tools, and materials. Evidence from Durrington Walls suggests that workers lived nearby during construction seasons. This settlement contained houses, communal buildings, and vast amounts of pottery and animal bones. The size of the feasting remains suggests large gatherings, possibly related to construction phases or solstice rituals. Workers likely shared meals, stories, and ceremonies, reinforcing social bonds. Their efforts were not only for constructing Stonehenge, but for participating in a shared cultural endeavor that unified people from distant regions. Archaeological studies show that some workers came from far across Britain, indicating a large network of shared identity and purpose. The construction of Stonehenge can also be understood as a technological revolution. The precise fitting of stones, the creation of joints, the leveling of lintels, and the geometric layout all point to advanced engineering. This sophistication challenges outdated narratives that portray prehistoric societies as technologically limited. On the contrary, the builders possessed knowledge that rivaled that of later civilizations. Their tools may have been simple, but their understanding of physics, geometry, and material science was profound. They understood leverage, balance, compression, and tension. They recognized the importance of alignment and symmetry. They anticipated structural stability and planned for the long-term endurance of their monument. Stonehenge stands as a testament to human innovation and the capacity for achievement even without metal or writing.
The monument's geometry is particularly striking. The Sarsen circle forms a perfect ring, with its stones evenly spaced and its lintels carefully shaped to maintain uniform height. The horseshoe arrangement inside the circle aligns with the monument's central axis, reinforcing the solstice alignment. The placement of the bluestones adds another layer of complexity, forming patterns that may reflect astronomical or symbolic meanings. The spacing of the stones is too precise to be accidental. It suggests the use of rope compasses or geometric grids, tools simple yet effective for creating accurate circles. Some researchers believe the builders used Pythagorean principles centuries before Pythagoras was born. Whether or not this was deliberate mathematical knowledge, the geometric precision is undeniable. Stonehenge's engineering marvel extends to its drainage and structural stability. The builders understood that water accumulation could weaken the foundation, so they dug ditches and designed the ground to channel water away. They placed the stones in deep pits with compacted earth and supporting stones to prevent them from shifting. The durability of the structure, despite thousands of years of wind, rain, frost, and human interference, attests to their success. The monument remains an enduring symbol of stability, resisting erosion through meticulous design. The engineering story is further illuminated by the surrounding landscape. Stonehenge was not built in isolation. It was part of a broader environment chosen for its geological and celestial properties. Salisbury Plain offers a clear, open horizon, ideal for observing the sun and moon. The chalk bedrock provides a stable foundation for heavy stones. The nearby river Avon connects the site to other ceremonial locations, allowing for ritual movement. The builders understood the land intimately and selected the site with purpose. Stonehenge's location reflects a union of geography, astronomy, and spirituality.
As we reflect on the engineering of Stonehenge, it becomes clear that the monument is not simply a product of physical labor. It represents the collective genius of an entire society, its beliefs, its knowledge, its aspirations, and its relationships with both land and sky. Stonehenge is an engineering achievement precisely because it is a cultural achievement. The builders did not separate science from spirituality, nor technology from ritual. Their world was holistic, and Stonehenge embodies this unity. It is an artifact of human creativity, resilience, and imagination, reminding us that innovation is not bound by time or technology.
Stonehenge's great stones, perfectly aligned with the movements of the sun, do not stand in isolation from the lives, beliefs, and spiritual practices of the people who built them. As the monument evolved from simple earthworks to towering trilithons, it became more than an architectural marvel. It transformed into a stage where cosmology, ritual, identity, and social power intertwined. Understanding Stonehenge purely as a calculator or a celestial observatory captures only a fraction of its meaning. To fully unravel its astronomical secrets, one must dive into the minds and worldviews of the people who lived more than 4,000 years ago, whose entire existence depended on reading the sky, interpreting cycles, and understanding the forces that governed life and death. These were not people who separated the cosmos from daily life. For them, time, nature, and the heavens were deeply interwoven with ritual, memory, and ancestral reverence. To imagine the world of Stonehenge's builders, picture a Britain blanketed in forests, punctuated by rivers and open plains where communities farmed wheat, raised cattle, and navigated by the positions of the stars. Their nights were illuminated by the Milky Way, unpolluted and brilliant, stretching across the sky like a celestial river of myth and meaning. For these early societies, the heavens were not abstract scientific objects, but divine structures guiding destiny. The solstices, those turning points of the sun's yearly journey, were markers signaling change, renewal, and cosmic balance. They were not merely astronomical events, they were moments when the veil between the earthly world and the divine seemed to thin. Stonehenge, rising from the Salisbury Plain, became the physical gateway to these profound celestial transitions. Archaeological evidence suggests that communal gatherings at Stonehenge were not solitary affairs, but massive social assemblies, drawing people from across Britain. The discovery of animal remains, particularly pigs and cattle, indicates feasting on a monumental scale. Many of the animals were raised hundreds of miles away and brought to the site, perhaps as offerings or as shared resources for large ritual events. This implies a network of distant communities united not only by trade, but by shared belief systems centered on the celestial cycles Stonehenge embodies. This pilgrimage-like movement, converging at a sacred stone circle tied to the rhythms of the universe, must have reinforced a sense of unity, identity, and cosmic participation. The alignment toward the summer solstice rays is one of Stonehenge's most iconic features. For modern visitors, the sun streaming directly through the heel stone and into the heart of the monument is a breathtaking sight. But for its creators, this was likely far more than a visual spectacle. The summer solstice marked the longest day of the year, the peak of light, abundance, and fertility. It symbolized the triumph of the sun, the giver of life. Gathering at Stonehenge during this time may have served to reaffirm the continuation of cosmic order. The glow of the sunrise illuminating the massive stones could have been interpreted as the moment when the sun god, or the cosmic force represented by the sun, blessed the people with another cycle of prosperity. The rituals performed during this moment likely involved chants, offerings, and the invocation of ancestors, connecting living generations to the eternal dance of celestial forces.
Yet Stonehenge also aligns with the winter solstice sunset, a detail just as crucial, perhaps even more significant in the context of mortality and ancestral veneration. The winter solstice, the shortest day and longest night, marked the rebirth of the sun after its apparent weakening. The sun's return signaled hope, regeneration, and the restart of the cosmic cycle. Evidence from animal remains and artifacts suggests that midwinter gatherings at Stonehenge and the nearby Durrington Walls settlement were deeply ritualistic, centered on the symbolic power of darkness giving birth to light. The winter solstice may have been an event of profound spiritual urgency, where people sought the blessings of cosmic forces to ensure survival through harsh seasons. In a world where food scarcity and cold threatened life, rituals reinforcing the sun's rebirth were essential acts of faith and cosmic alignment. The physical act of walking towards Stonehenge during the winter solstice sunset would have been transformative. Approaching the stone circle, participants would see the setting sun framed perfectly between the massive sarsen stones, descending directly along the central axis of the monument. This was not a coincidence. It was an engineered moment of cosmic theater. The stones became silhouettes against the dying light, creating a mystical visual pathway into the world of ancestors. Many archaeologists believe that Stonehenge served as a ceremonial center associated with death and passage to the afterlife, while nearby wooden monuments signified the world of the living. Wood decays, representing life's impermanence, while stone endures, symbolizing the eternal realm of ancestors. Thus, Stonehenge's astronomical alignment toward the winter solstice sunset may have represented the moment when the souls of the departed joined the sun on its journey, reinforcing a cycle where death was but a gateway into cosmic continuity. Burial evidence strengthens this interpretation. Numerous human remains have been found near Stonehenge, suggesting it was a site of funerary rites, cremation, and ancestral monumentality. Many of these burials date to early phases of construction, indicating that the origins of Stonehenge were closely tied to commemorating important individuals within the community. The process of cremating bodies, collecting their ashes, and placing them within the sacred earthworks of the Stonehenge enclosure may have been intricately connected to solstice rituals. Fire, light, and renewal, symbols of the sun's power, likely played central roles in both life and death ceremonies. When the community gathered during solstice events, they were not merely observing celestial phenomena, they were communing with their ancestors, reaffirming their lineage and maintaining balance between the worlds of the living and the dead.
Cosmology at Stonehenge extended beyond simple solar alignments. The placement of stones, including the blue stones transported from Wales, may represent deities, ancestral spirits, or cosmological principles. The difficulty of transporting these stones, some weighing up to 4 tons over hundreds of kilometers, underscores their symbolic importance. These stones were not selected for convenience, they were chosen for meaning. Some theories propose that blue stones were associated with healing powers or spiritual energies believed to emanate from their Welsh origins. If true, bringing these stones to Stonehenge may have been an act of transferring sacred power to the monument. Standing within the circle, surrounded by stones with both local and distant origins, participants were enveloped by symbols of cosmic unity. The landscape, the sky, the stones, and the people formed a single living cosmology where time, space, spirit, and ancestry converged. Consider also the role of sound within the stone circle. Experiments have shown that Stonehenge possesses unique acoustic properties. The arrangement of stones creates echoes and reverberations that would amplify chants, drumming, or ritual music. This was likely not an accident. The builders may have understood that sound, especially repetitive chants, could induce altered states of consciousness, enabling deeper spiritual experiences. During solstice ceremonies, the combination of sunlight, shadow, firelight, and echoing chants within the stone ring would have created a highly immersive ritual environment. The architecture transformed celestial events into sensory experiences, allowing participants to feel the presence of divine forces not just visually, but physically. The idea of Stonehenge as a liminal site, where the boundaries between worlds blur, is strengthened by its deliberate connection to the river Avon through the ancient avenue.
This processional route, aligned with the solstitial axis, was likely used during ritual journeys. People may have traveled by boat down the river, transitioning from their everyday world into the realm of ancestors and cosmic forces represented by the stone circle. The journey itself, moving from water to land, from wood to stone, from darkness to light, or from sunset to starlight, embodied a symbolic passage. It was a pilgrimage that mirrored the celestial journey of the sun, reinforcing the harmony between human movement and cosmic motion. Even the act of building Stonehenge was part of its ritual cosmology. Construction took centuries, involving multiple generations. Each group contributed to a monument that would outlive them, embedding their identity and legacy within the landscape. The act of raising stones may have been considered a sacred duty, a communal event involving rituals, offerings, and celebrations. The immense effort required to transport stones, shape them, and erect them in precise astronomical alignments must have reinforced social cohesion. Leadership, spiritual authority, and engineering skill converged in a united vision to create a sanctuary aligned with the universe itself. Through this collaborative effort, Stonehenge became an embodiment of collective memory and shared cosmic purpose.
As rituals continued across generations, myths and stories likely emerged around the monument. These stories, now lost to time, would have explained why the stones stood where they did, what cosmic messages they held, and how humanity fit within the grand design of the universe. These narratives may have included deities who ruled the sun, ancestors who became stars, and cycles of rebirth tied to solstices. Though we cannot recover these myths, their imprint lingers in the monument's design and alignments. Stonehenge is not simply a structure. It is the material form of ideas, beliefs, and stories that guided ancient societies through the mysteries of existence. When modern people gather at Stonehenge during solstices, they participate, knowingly or unknowingly, in a tradition thousands of years old. The wonder felt by ancient observers still resonates today as sunlight pierces the stone circle at dawn or dusk. Though today's visitors carry cameras and smartphones instead of ritual objects, the sense of awe remains unchanged. This continuity of emotional experience underscores the timeless power of cosmic events and the human impulse to seek meaning in the skies. Stonehenge's astronomical secrets cannot be understood without acknowledging the human dimension. It was a place where communities forged identity, celebrated cosmic cycles, honored ancestors, and navigated the mysteries of life and death. The solstical alignments are not merely scientific curiosities, they are windows into the sacred landscapes of ancient minds. The builders of Stonehenge did not separate astronomy from spirituality, engineering from ritual, or architecture from myth. In their world, all were parts of a unified whole. The sun's path was a story, and the stones were its chapters. In unraveling the astronomical mysteries of Stonehenge, we are not just decoding the movements of the sun, but rediscovering the cultural heartbeat of a civilization. Their rituals, their beliefs, and their cosmic imagination transformed a simple plain into a sacred theater of the universe. Stonehenge stands today as a testament to humanity's enduring desire to understand our place in the cosmos. It is a silent dialogue across millennia between ancient minds who read the sky like scripture and modern explorers who seek answers in the same stars. As we interpret its alignments, we connect with those who once gathered in awe at the same solstice sunrises and sunsets, their hearts lifted toward the eternal rhythms that shaped their existence. Stonehenge's astronomical secrets echo through time, reminding us that humanity has always looked upward, seeking meaning, connection, and continuity in the dance of celestial light.
Stonehenge today stands as a marvel suspended between worlds, between the ancient and the modern, the scientific and the spiritual, the earthly and the celestial. Over the centuries, it has become far more than a prehistoric monument. It has transformed into a global symbol of mystery, a monument embraced by historians, astronomers, spiritual seekers, and ordinary visitors who feel inexplicably drawn to its silent presence. To conclude our journey into Stonehenge's astronomical secrets, we must explore not only what the monument meant to its ancient creators, but what it continues to mean now. This final part is about legacy, rediscovery, reinvention, and the endless quest to understand why this enigmatic structure still commands human imagination thousands of years after the last stone was raised. Modern fascination with Stonehenge began long before archaeology emerged as a formal discipline. Medieval chroniclers speculated wildly about its origins, with Geoffrey of Monmouth famously claiming that the wizard Merlin magically transported the stones from Ireland. As charmingly mythical as such tales sound today, they reflect a long-standing truth. Even in the Middle Ages, Stonehenge was already ancient, already mysterious, already a canvas onto which societies projected their own values and interpretations. The structure stood alone, stripped of context, its builders forgotten. Without written records to reveal its purpose, generations imagined the stones to be the work of giants, druids, magicians, or gods. And in a sense, the monument became more powerful because of its ambiguity. The less people knew, the more the imagination filled in the gaps. It was only in the 17th century that scientific inquiry began replacing folklore. Figures like John Aubrey and William Stukely emerged as early pioneers, meticulously documenting the site and proposing theories about its purpose. Stukely believed Stonehenge was constructed by Celtic druids, a theory now rejected but culturally influential. Through his writings, Stonehenge became forever intertwined with romanticized images of white-robed druids standing in reverence beneath the summer solstice sun. This imagery, though historically inaccurate, planted Stonehenge firmly into British cultural identity, reshaping how people approached it. Even today, modern druidic groups gather at Stonehenge during solstices, performing rituals inspired by ancient Celtic traditions. While the original builders lived thousands of years before the Druids, the appropriation of Stonehenge into Druidic lore shows how each generation has reimagined the monument according to its own spiritual yearnings. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Stonehenge entered a new phase of interpretation, driven by archaeological science, engineering studies, and astronomical analysis. Researchers began excavating the site systematically, uncovering layers of human activity spanning millennia. The discovery of the Aubrey holes, burial pits, tools, animal bones, and traces of ancient pathways provided insights into the lives of the people who built and used the monument. With each excavation came new puzzles. Every artifact raised new questions about ritual, social organization, and cosmology. Archaeologists slowly realized that Stonehenge was not created all at once, but evolved through complex phases of construction extending over 1,500 years. This revelation shifted our understanding from seeing Stonehenge as a mysterious singular installation to a dynamic cultural and cosmic project that changed with each generation.
In the 20th century, the astronomical significance of Stonehenge began to crystallize through the work of scholars like Sir Norman Lockyer and Gerald Hawkins. Lockyer, an astronomer fascinated by ancient monuments, proposed that the stones aligned with solar events, particularly the midsummer sunrise. Hawkins, using early computer analyses in the 1960s, advanced the idea that Stonehenge functioned as an elaborate astronomical calculator, capable of predicting eclipses. Although many of his claims were met with skepticism, his work reignited intense public interest in prehistoric astronomy. The idea that ancient peoples possessed sophisticated astronomical knowledge captivated imaginations worldwide, turning Stonehenge into a symbol of lost wisdom. Whether or not Stonehenge was an eclipse predictor, Hawkins' theories helped shift scientific perspectives. Researchers began to consider that ancient builders were far more advanced in their understanding of celestial cycles than previously thought. As archaeological methods advanced, new technologies revolutionized Stonehenge research. Techniques like radiocarbon dating, ground-penetrating radar, 3D scanning, microanalysis of tools, isotopic examination of bones, and landscape-wide magnetometry surveys revealed details impossible to detect with earlier methods. One of the most groundbreaking discoveries came in the early 21st century. Stonehenge was not an isolated monument,
but part of a vast ceremonial landscape interconnected by pathways, rivers, burial sites, timber monuments, and ritual spaces. The landscape surrounding Stonehenge, including the Durrington Walls Henge, Woodhenge, the Cursus, and the Avenue, formed a network of structures that collectively reflected beliefs about life, death, the seasons, and cosmic order. The discovery of the Durrington Walls settlement, a huge seasonal encampment larger than many modern towns, transformed our understanding of how people participated in Stonehenge ceremonies. Evidence suggests that thousands of people gathered at Durrington Walls during the winter solstice period for communal feasting and rituals. Some likely contributed to the transport and erection of stones, others performed religious or ceremonial roles, while others brought offerings or participated in processions along the River Avon. The integration of Stonehenge with the river and its solstitial alignments form a compelling picture of a carefully orchestrated ritual program. The winter solstice sunset viewed from Stonehenge and the summer solstice sunrise seen through the heel stone transforms celestial moments into communal experiences. These events likely served as emotional and spiritual anchors for early societies. Modern archaeological insights have also shifted scholarly consensus towards understanding Stonehenge as a site deeply linked to ancestral worship. The cremated human remains found in the Aubrey holes and surrounding areas were not random burials, but interments of significant individuals. Through isotopic analysis, researchers discovered that some of these individuals were not local. They came from distant regions, including Wales. This suggests that Stonehenge may have been a gathering place for elite lineages, a monument where powerful families interred their dead as part of claiming sacred ancestral ties to the cosmic cycles represented by the sun's movements. If the bluestones indeed originated from a Welsh site associated with healing and ancestral powers, their placement at Stonehenge may symbolize the transfer of ancestral spirits or sacred authority into the Salisbury Plain landscape.
Current interpretations of Stonehenge emphasize the merging of ritual, social, and astronomical functions rather than seeing the monument as primarily a scientific observatory. The monument likely served multiple overlapping purposes: temple, tomb, calendar, stage, pilgrimage center, and ancestral shrine. Its astronomical alignments were essential components of its spiritual significance, but they were not ends in themselves. For the ancient builders, tracking the solstices was not about measuring time in an abstract sense. It was a means of harmonizing human life with cosmic order. The sun's path defined the rhythms of farming, fertility, survival, and spiritual renewal. To align with the sun was to align with life itself. In the modern era, Stonehenge has become a global cultural icon. Millions visit the site annually, seeking connection, inspiration, or simply the thrill of standing before something so ancient and enigmatic. Some come for historical curiosity, others for spiritual reasons, and many for the solstice celebrations that continue to this day. Each year on the summer solstice, thousands gather to witness the sunrise framed between the stones. Music, drums, chants, and quiet contemplation fill the air as the sun crests the horizon. For many, this moment brings a sense of unity with humanity across time. Even without knowing the precise rituals of the original builders, modern participants feel something that transcends words, a sense that they are part of a story older than civilization itself. At the same time, Stonehenge's significance continues to evolve. The monument has become a stage for debates about heritage preservation, cultural identity, and the relationship between ancient sites and modern infrastructure. Controversies surrounding tunnel construction near the site, access restrictions, and tourism management highlight the tensions between preserving the monument and accommodating contemporary needs. Stonehenge is not frozen in time. It remains a living part of Britain's physical and cultural landscape. Its power extends beyond archaeology into politics, religion, environmentalism, and art. Scientific advancements keep revealing new layers of the Stonehenge story. In recent years, the discovery of vast pits forming a massive prehistoric circle around Durrington Walls, possibly one of the largest prehistoric structures in the world, reinforced the idea that Stonehenge was part of a much larger ceremonial complex. Advances in chemical analysis have traced the origins of the bluestones to specific quarries in Wales,
providing glimpses into the sophisticated engineering and logistical planning of prehistoric societies. DNA studies of individuals buried near Stonehenge revealed genetic diversity and migratory movements across prehistoric Europe, suggesting that the monument's builders were part of larger cultural shifts of the Neolithic and early Bronze Age.
Yet the more we learn, the more certain mysteries deepen. Why did the builders make the stones into trilithons? Why did they prefer specific stones with distinct ringing acoustic properties? Why did they abandon the site after centuries of use? Was the alignment meant only for the solstices, or did it include lunar cycles or stellar events? What myths and stories circulated among the builders as they watched the solstice sun rise through the stones? The archaeological record can hint at answers, but the emotional and symbolic meanings, the worldview erected in stone, remain elusive. And perhaps that is part of Stonehenge's enduring power. It stands at the intersection of knowledge and wonder, offering just enough clues to reveal brilliance, yet retaining enough secrets to inspire infinite questions. For modern humanity, Stonehenge serves as a reminder of our deep-rooted relationship with the cosmos. Long before telescopes or satellites, ancient people understood the rhythms of the heavens with a sophistication born of observation, patience, and cultural devotion. They saw the sky not as a distant expanse, but as a living presence woven into their daily existence. In a time before modern distractions, the movement of the sun and stars shaped identity, mythology, and social order. Stonehenge crystallized that connection, encoding celestial knowledge into a monument that has outlasted empires, languages, and eras. As new generations stand before the stones, they are participating in a lineage of curiosity stretching back 4,000 years. Stonehenge challenges us to consider how ancient people perceived time, space, life, death, and the universe. It invites us to imagine a world where the sky was scripture, where architecture and astronomy were inseparable, and where communities gathered not just to survive, but to celebrate their place in the cosmic cycle. In unraveling Stonehenge's astronomical secrets, we are reminded that humanity's fascination with the heavens is timeless. The same sun that rose over the builders rises over us. The same solstice alignments that guided ancient rituals still frame the light today. We are connected across millennia by shared wonder. In the end, Stonehenge's greatest legacy may be its ability to evoke awe, a sense of stepping outside ordinary time and entering a space where the universe feels intimate and alive. Whether viewed as a temple of the sun, a monument to ancestors, a calendar inscribed in stone, or a symbol of human ingenuity, Stonehenge endures because it speaks to universal human questions. Who are we? Where did we come from? How are we connected to the cosmos? In its silent majesty, Stonehenge whispers that the answers lie not in a single interpretation, but in the interplay of light, stone, memory, and imagination. It stands as a reminder that humanity has always sought meaning in the sky, and that the quest to understand our place in the universe is as old as civilization itself. Be part of the story. You've just experienced one of countless stories that shaped our world. If you believe every story deserves to be told, then subscribe now and be part of this growing community of thinkers, dreamers, and explorers.